The mortician was processing a corpse, but in the time it took him to turn around and take a sip of water, he discovered the body had changed position. Initially, he thought it was a ghost, but after glancing at the bottle, he figured he'd had too much to drink and was hallucinating. However, when he turned back again, he noticed the corpse's eyes were open too. Despite being spooked, he still chalked it up to being tipsy and tried to ignore it, covering the body's head with a towel. But then, another strange thing happened. His tablet unlocked itself and started playing a comic story. As he watched, he became truly frightened because the story was about him, a tale no one else knew. Years ago, his wife was bedridden and ill. He struggled to care for her while also providing for the family. Although he was dedicated at first, over time he grew extremely fed up with his wife. Eventually, this life gradually drove him to the brink. He kept hoping his wife would pass away soon so he could be free from this existence. One day, his wish finally came true. He felt immensely relieved. But as he was preparing for her cremation, he saw his wife's eyelids flutter. Turns out she wasn't actually dead. Looking at his wife and thinking back on the life that had pushed him over the edge, he couldn't bear to go back. So he steeled himself and ended her life right then and there. Seeing the comic was entirely about his wife nearly made him wet his pants. He rushed to gather his things and get out of the morgue. But just then, the corpse's hand grabbed him. The author of this comic was a girl named Lisa. The eerie thing was, every time she finished a story, someone would die in the way she described. That night, she sent the latest comic to her editor, who was horrified by what he saw. It showed a little girl whose mother had been disfigured in an accident. Half her face was badly decayed, with even her teeth exposed. This led to the girl being mocked by classmates who called her the monster's daughter. Over time, the little girl blamed everything on her mom. One day, she angrily crossed out her mother's face in a family photo and wrote in her diary that she'd be better off without a mom. Her heartbroken mother happened to see this note and took her own life, perhaps thinking her death would stop her daughter from being bullied. The editor was very worried because the little girl in the story was actually her younger self. She immediately called Lisa, demanding to know how she knew this secret. But as she was yelling into the phone, the lights suddenly went out and the curtains started closing by themselves. Now she was truly terrified. She ran to her desk, grabbed an X-Acto knife for protection, and at that moment, the computer screen lit up. The editor looked back in horror, realizing the comic story wasn't actually over, sending a chill down her spine. She bolted for the front door, only to find it tightly locked. No matter how much she banged and screamed, it was as if no sound could escape. Since she couldn't get out, she gripped the knife and slowly walked back, loudly demanding to know who was messing with her. She quickly got a response, but the voice sounded just like her mother's agonized moans before she died. This brilliant Korean horror film is called Killer Tomb.